Hi there. So, over the last couple days, I have talked about some of the questions that I've received for Awakening Our Woman Line and how I work, how my circles work, and the first day on Monday, I sent you a video about what exactly is this mother wound thing that we're going to be talking about. And then yesterday I sent a video talking about advice giving and why one of the guidelines of my circles is that we don't give advice unless it's specifically asked for. And today I'm going to talk about um, the third basic tenet of all my circles. I have a cup of tea right here. So if you see my hands moving around, that's what's going on. I'm fiddling with my tea. Is this idea of why don't we compare experiences, right? And what does that mean? What does comparing experiences mean? How do we not compare experiences? Um, so on and so forth. And why is it important that we don't in my circles? So we've all lived a life. We have all had things happen to us. We've all made mistakes. We've all um, experienced traumas in various ways. We've all lived a life, right? When we start to compare our lived experience with the lived experience of another person, we start to create the stories and feed the stories of too much, not enough, and shame. Person A was physically abused by their mother. Person B was sexually abused by their mother. Person C was emotionally abused, but not physically or sexually. And person D wasn't abused, was neglected. Person E wasn't abused or neglected, has a really great healthy relationship with their mom, right? Nobody's experience is worse than anyone else's. Now, I hear you all going, what are you talking about? The people who were abused totally had it worse than, the people who didn't have it abused, blah, 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 right? Okay, I hear you. I hear you. I get it. I know, right? We don't take children away from people who aren't abusing them, right? I get it. I get it. I know that, right? And yet, the person who has a really great relationship with their mom might have a really horrible relationship with their dad, may have been raped at the age of 5 by a neighbor kid, may have, right? We don't know the whole story here. We don't know the whole stories with anyone. So if we're going to compare an experience, someone shares an experience that happens and someone else shares another, similar, related, whatever type of experience. And we start to go, oh, well, this person had it worse and that person didn't have it. Blah, 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 blah. And me, well, I'm kind of in the middle here and da, da, da. Right? We're comparing and we're judging and we're saying your experience is less valid than your experience. That's what we're saying. When we start comparing and judging, we're saying someone else's or our own experience is less valid than another's. And I'm going to say, bullshit, all of our experiences are valid. All of our experiences are valid. We don't know the whole story of any other person. Whatever piece they share with us is valid and deserves to be witnessed and honored as their true story, and not compared, and not told, well, you didn't have it so bad. Or worse, this, what I'm about to share? Can you see? I'm getting wound up. Um, this is like my biggest pet peeve, my biggest freaking pet peeve in the world. Are you ready? Is when people say, well, at least. What in the actual fuck, right? Well, at least, I don't even know. I've had, I do know, I have a story. So I have a woman who is one of my best friends in my 20s, and her mom died. And her mom died 2 or 3 weeks, I can't remember exactly, but literally 2 or 3 weeks after my friend was married, after my friend had a wedding. Her mother walked her down the aisle. Her mother was very sick at the time, but her mother was present at the wedding. She flew from Texas up to the Seattle area. She walked her daughter down the aisle. She was, amazing and beautiful and present, and she died a couple weeks later. When my friend came home from her honeymoon, they'd gone, I don't know where they went, Mexico or someplace. Anyway, she turned her cell phone off, right? She came back, and there were voice messages saying her mother was in the hospital. And so she changed her flight in California. Instead of coming up to Seattle, she went down to Texas and was there with her mom when she died. So, horrible story, right? That sucks. I think we can all agree. Yeah, that's pretty shitty, right? The responses that she received from people were, well, at least she was there to walk you down the aisle. Well, at least she was present to see you married. Well, at least she didn't die before the wedding. Because those are helpful things to hear when your mom just died. It's another form of the advice giving I talked about yesterday, right? It's not actually giving advice, but it's painting that picture of, oh, it's not so bad. It's okay. Don't feel so sad. You don't need to feel sad because at least your mom walked you down the aisle. Yeah, she's dead, but she walked you down the aisle. I talked with my friend a lot about what was going on with her when this all happened. And one of the things that she said that has stuck with me, and this happened, we were in our 20s when this happened. So it's been, 20, almost 20 something years. Oh, God. Almost 20 something years ago, right? So this has stuck with me to this day, this story and her response. And her response was, and she started telling people once she was finally in a place to articulate this, her response was, no one ever wants the least. Why would I? Right? No one ever wants the least out of life. So, please, if you start thinking, well, at least, remember that. No one wants the least. No one. It's okay to sit with discomfort and sadness and pain. It's okay. It really, truly is. So, we don't compare. We don't compare anyone's experience with our own or between two other people. Because everyone's experience is valid. Everyone deserves to be witnessed. Everyone's emotions about their experience is valid. Another thing that stuck with me, I don't remember when the first time I heard this was, but someone said, if the worst thing that ever happened to her, who, whatever, was that she broke a fingernail, it's the worst thing that has ever happened to her. So if the worst thing that's ever happened to you is you broke a fingernail, it's still the worst thing that's ever happened. And you get to feel upset about that. Of course, I do believe that, most people have had experiences beyond breaking fingernails that are traumatic, that are truly breaking a fingernail may be traumatic. Um, and, right, most have experienced another level of pain and suffering, right? And yet, it doesn't matter where you are on whatever spectrum somebody made up about what's worse and what's better and what's at least and what's at best and all that other shit, right? You get to feel what you feel about what you experienced. Whether or not you have this little story going on in your head about, well, so and so had it a lot worse than me, or so and so doesn't have it as bad. Why are they complaining, right? Their life is so perfect, right? Oh, that's fucking bullshit. We all get to see, I get riled up. Oh, I get so riled up. Anger is going to be one of the things we get to tap into. Um, uh, anyways, um, we all get to experience our feelings. Pounding my fist and making the damn thing shake. We get to. It's okay. Our emotions are valid. Our reactions to our experiences are valid. So, another thing about comparing experiences and doing this at least crap and deciding who has it better or worse, and even worse, telling people if they've had it better or worse, right? The other piece of that, other aspect of that to talk about is that it's gaslighting. When we start to tell someone at least, right? Or so and so has it worse because, or you shouldn't feel so bad because at least, or because they're starving children in Africa. We're gaslighting. We're telling people that their feelings aren't valid, that their experience isn't real or true. That's not okay in my circles. It's not okay. Now, do I think it's intentional? Do I think people are being intentionally, are intentionally gaslighting, are intentionally trying to shame people, are intentionally trying to propagate the story as of too much and not enough? No, I don't believe that. I don't believe it's intentional. I believe it's unconscious, for lack of a better word. I believe it is such an insidious and internalized part of our culture. And that's part of our work. Part of our work is becoming mindful and aware and conscious of this crap that we do. Not to hurt others, not to intentionally propagate these stories of shame, not to do that. It's not on purpose, and I know that. And I hope you know that. And yet, pain is still being caused. This is part of that mother wounding I talked about on Monday. This is part of how we keep rewounding ourselves and others. This is a piece of it. And so, we learn not to compare. Slowly, right? We start to unravel. We start to become comfortable. Sorry, my bangs are driving me crazy again. We start to become comfortable with our discomfort, which is, one of those crazy, ironic, non-dual things. And yet, that's the truth of it. We allow others to have their experiences, and we allow ourselves to have ours, and to have our reactions to those experiences, because they're valid. We get to be angry, we get to be sad, we get to be frustrated, we get to be anxious, we get to be all the things. All of us. We get to be happy too, absolutely. And we should, and I don't like using the word should, so eek, let's pretend I didn't say that. And it is not beneficial to us to only ever be happy and to try and squash our other feelings and emotions. It's not helpful. So I'm just over 15 minutes again, so shouldn't it? Tomorrow I will go through the questions in the application, kind of touch on all of them a little bit again. One of the questions is about being able to hold the tenets of the circle. So I'll just kind of gloss over that since I've talked about that already. And I'll go through some of the other questions too. So I hope you're enjoying these videos, and I'm sending you love. Mwah, and I will see you tomorrow.